What's up, besties? I am back with another video on how to use AI to simplify your life and your business. Today, we're going to talk about the truth about Instagram DM bots because I just built one for a client, and let me tell you, it almost tested my entire life. Okay, it tested my ability to further my understanding in AI and truly understand how we as humans can better interact with this technology. Okay, so first, we're going to talk about how you can go from random DMs to a system that actually converts. This is going to be for anyone who has been struggling with how to turn leads into actual customers, or how to get leads from just sending you random messages to actually joining a program or purchasing a course or coming into your community. Okay, so if you're someone who is growing your Instagram following or growing your social media following in general, you can utilize the same logic and these same steps to any platform, really. So for me, for example, I'm big on YouTube, so this is probably something that I would implement into my YouTube world. But if you're big on TikTok, you can also utilize this in your TikTok world as well. So again, we're taking you from random DMs to a system that actually converts by helping you understand why simple automations do not work. We're also going to identify the one KPI that matters for you and your business or your client or whoever you're building this for. I'm going to help you create scripts with tone and psychology that feels like someone is interacting with someone on your team. So this is going to help you save time. It's also going to allow you to reach out to everyone who comes into your DMs. It's also going to help you kind of reduce your team and also make sure that you're able to get to everyone throughout the entire day. Because if you're someone who has a VA currently working for you as a DM setter, or someone on your team whose specific job is to respond to messages, this will help you save time and help them focus on more efficient tasks within the business. So we're going to help you choose the right tools for your customization, and in order for you to scale, we're also going to focus on one offer at a time. This is something that I learned as I was building out some of these workflow automations. We originally started with a lead scoring system to basically identify whether someone was ready to book a call that would lead to a high ticket sale, or if they were more on the budget friendly side, which is when we would essentially send them a link to a low ticket offer, which is like an ebook or a course of something of that sort. Anything below like $79 would be considered low ticket in this sense. And so we started off that way, but quickly realized that it was just better to go with all low ticket offers in the DMs, because through that, it essentially shows that someone is ready and committed if they do make the purchase, and then they were also able to book a call through the low ticket purchase. So streamlining and focusing on one offer at a time would be so beneficial if you are looking to implement this in your business. So what are DM bots? Let's start there. So these are not simple flows. They are essentially designed to convert someone who is sending an inbound DM and they're curious about what you do or they want to work with you. It will interact with them immediately and get them through a list of questioning to really understand what their objectives are, and eventually convert them into a lead, or convert them into a workshop, convert them into a low ticket offer. This is designed to qualify, nurture, and convert them automatically, rather than them just sitting in your DMs for, I don't know, weeks on end or for hours until your DM setter is able to come online. And then maybe they'll get to that message depending on how many messages you have inbound. And when they're built correctly, they save time and they increase revenue. So we'll get into some KPIs a little bit, but I want to talk first about why most DM bots fail. There are no clear KPIs, so Some people will just implement like a mini chat bot, for example, and just send DMs just to be sending them to interact with people, but there is no clear conversion or there's no metric that we're tracking. We're simply just saying, okay, something is interacting with these people in the DMs, therefore it's working. But in reality, the purpose of a DM bot is to convert, is to book a call, to make a sale, to understand how to qualify a lead. The copy is usually very robotic, so people aren't aware on how to properly prompt something like a DM bot. They have it just asking generic questions. They have it, clearly where you can tell that it's AI, right? So basically, what we're doing is, and one of the things that I'll show you is how to make it so that it sounds like you, it sounds like your brand, it sounds like your messaging, it's addressing the person in a light way that resonates with whatever your offer is, right? So if you're a fitness coach and you use bro a lot, or you're very like macho or whatever the case is, then you want your bot to come off that way as well, so that people know that they're interacting with the brand, they're interacting with what resonates with them, what drew them in the first place, right? Again, most bots fail because you're selling too many things at once. In the beginning, like I mentioned, I'll walk through the workflow that I have set up now, but in the beginning, we were trying to qualify people into 3 buckets, essentially, whether that was ready for high ticket, ready for low ticket, or not ready for anything. And rather than us doing that, we saved so much time by just pushing everyone through to the low ticket offer. So that created a cleaner logic for us, but also it worked out so well because we realized that if they're reaching out to us, then they need help in some way, or there's something that they're looking to work with us, right? So we want to give them something that's going to be kind of like an introduction to the high ticket offer. And so that applies to everyone. However, if they clearly indicate that they're ready to go all in with the coaching, we do have parameters set up to where they're able to book a call, but we are no longer qualifying them. So we're literally only selling one thing. And then lastly, using limited tools like ManyChat. I mentioned ManyChat doesn't have a lot of capabilities like you would have if you were to build out your own workflow using N8N or using GoHighLevel, for example. So when you basically use a tool like ManyChat, you're very limited in the promptings that you can use. You're very limited in the triggers that you can use. It's a great tool for starting out, but if you want to get really personal and if you want to get really high level, you would be better off building your own workflow. And I'm going to provide you with all the tools in order to do that. You will need some memberships and some activations to get started. So for example, if you're not using GoHighLevel, or if your client isn't using GoHighLevel, chances are they're using some sort of lead generating system. So you want to make sure that you have that. You want to make sure it's able to connect to your Instagram API. You could use a direct Meta API, but I don't recommend that because sometimes Meta can restrict your API access. So if you're using a system like GoHighLevel, then you automatically get access to that Instagram messaging API. Another reason why I like GoHighLevel for this project is because you can build automations within GoHighLevel. This is going to make it so much easier when building out the full automation. If you do not have this, I recommend looking up other videos here on YouTube to understand how you can potentially build the entire workflow within N8N. So that brings me to the next tool that I use. N8N is to actually build out the workflow. Then we have ChatGPT. Obviously, this is going to be for us to insert our prompt, and the call will be sent to ChatGPT. So basically the incoming message from the DM will be sent through ChatGPT, and then it will interpret the message and it will send out a responding message. Next we have Instagram. Obviously this is as of right now, what I'm doing the video on, but you can find ways to do this for TikTok, for YouTube, for Threads, and many other messaging platforms. You could even do this for text messaging. I know someone who created a really great bot and essentially has a phone number. So when people text this phone number with a certain code or a certain message, it will begin the flow and the automation to get them into kind of like a lead generating mechanism. And then lastly, Lovable, which is optional. Basically, I use this to build a dashboard to follow KPIs for the actual bot. So I can kind of monitor how many DMs have we responded to, how many have we sent links to, and how many have converted to actual low ticket purchases. Who is this for? This is for coaches, personal brands, creators selling digital products, entrepreneurs offering one-on-one services. So basically, if you have an online presence and you have a growing list of leads and you're unsure of what to do with them or how to convert them into revenue or to get them within your ecosystem, you can utilize this in order to begin doing that. One of the issues that I see with a lot of coaches is that they have a ton of leads. They have, 100 inbound DMs a day, but they're not using that to their advantage, and they're leaving a lot of money on the table, but they're also leaving a lot of individuals who are genuinely seeking their help. And I know a lot of the coaches that I work with, they're just one person, so they absolutely need teams in order to service everyone that is reaching out to them. And so this bot is just like that first layer of interaction that customers and clients can have in order to make sure that they're not being left behind. So I want to show you what my flow looks like. So here I am in GoHighLevel, and I created a folder called Instagram Automations under the Automations tab in GoHighLevel. My main automation that we're going to be looking at is this live automation here. This is essentially what triggers the entire automation to start. It's within GoHighLevel. I've set up an automation to where we have a trigger when a message is received from Instagram. So you can see the trigger is customer replied, reply channel is Instagram DMs. When a customer sends a DM, we add a tag. This is optional, but for our process, we add a tag and we tag them as an Instagram lead. Then we have it sent to a custom webhook. So the message basically follows through here. They're tagged within GoHighLevel, and the message is sent to N8N. You can build within GoHighLevel this entire workflow, but again, the personalization comes in when you're able to take it to another workflow like N8N. So you want to make sure that everything is essentially connected properly, and I'll provide some JSON code as well as some step-by-step instructions on how to make sure that everything is working properly. But essentially, what is taking place is this custom webhook. So the message comes through and it's being pushed through this custom webhook, and that webhook is what triggers this entire workflow here. Again, I know this looks like a lot, but I provided the JSON code. So all you have to do is upload the generic code. You can import it here and then begin to customize based on your needs or your client's needs. So when this webhook gets triggered, I have it going through some automation. So first of all, it gets recorded, or we have a Google Sheet where we're basically tracking and logging all interactions to make sure that when a message is received, that it's not coming from someone who's already purchased or someone who's on our wait list for further escalation. So we run it through this to make sure that whoever's sending a message is interacting with the application for the first time, for example. And if they are, then we push them through and we go here to our AI agent. And this is where we input our prompt, our specific prompt. And this is where the bulk of the work comes when you're building something like this for yourself. you need to make sure that the prompt has certain elements in order to know when to engage, when to interact, and when to stop interacting and pass on for further escalation if needed. And I have my AI model here, so I'm using ChatGPT, OpenAI. And then I have a simple memory to store conversations with clients so that the bot is not thinking that it's interacting with someone for the first time every time a message comes in. So if someone's been messaging the bot and there's like 10 previous messages, the simple memory will be able to go back and look at all of the conversation to make sure that it's in line with the context, for example, because you don't want someone messaging mid conversation and then the bot starts to flow over again. This is also where you'll insert your script. So within the prompt, I'll show you how that looks, but this is how it knows to follow a specific script. If you're selling something, it will know what to say, it'll know how to say it and when to say it. In this flow, the next thing I have is respond to webhook, right? So this basically here is going to go back to HighLevel and it's going to say, okay, here is what we received from the conversation that our chat was having. And then it's going to wait. I put this waiting buffer because what I found was that when you're interacting with a client in the DMs and you're responding in like 30 seconds, because that's how fast this thing can go, it can obviously seem like a bot. And so what I did was I added a waiting buffer of about 2 to 3 minutes. And then the next thing that it does is it responds to Instagram. So this flow here is quite simple to set up. It's this webhook here where most of the work is actually being done. Because if we didn't have this webhook, if we had a simple, box here where it's like chat or whatever, send live chat message, if we had a simple thing there, it wouldn't be as customizable as this process, this AI agent process on N8N. Everything else that you see here is simply for our own tracking because we have some dashboards set up. So I have information going to a Google Sheet to kind of update us on the status of each and every inbound DM. And then I also have some Slack integrations just in case. So I have two. So I have one that basically notifies us if someone needs human assistance. So if there is an escalation that needs to be made and we need to step in and check on the DM, we can go do that. We'll receive a message via Slack. And the second one is to notify us once someone has actually received a link, which will identify that the bot is working successfully. All right, so this is how we measure success, but there are two ways that we can break it down. The first way is we can measure whether or not the bot is completing its full cycle, and that would be indicated by how many links were sent. That's one way, that's operational success. But then we can measure it based on business success. So, how many purchases were actually made utilizing the bot, and that's going to be 4. So we have two different metrics that we're tracking here, but ultimately, I would say the biggest metric that we're tracking is going to be how many are actually leading to purchases. So what we can do is go back to the logic. We can go back to all of the messages that were sent. So we've sent about 31 messages. We've had 41 inbounds and we've sent 31 with using the actual bot. And this is because a majority of the messages, the other 10 messages that didn't get responses, are because they were personal in nature or because they didn't have anything to do with the actual coaching that my coach offers. So that's where you see we've received 41 inbound DMs, unique customers. 31 have engaged with the bot. 9 of them have been sent links and 4 of them have purchased. And so I'm also able to track certain metrics like response rate, link rate, purchase rate, etc. And also, guys, this is Lovable. So this is where I mentioned this is optional. You can definitely just track all of these KPIs within a Google Sheet. But if you want to visualize it for a client, then it's going to be so important that you create something like a Lovable dashboard, or you could even use Looker from Google, or you can use Power BI, all of which are really great. Lovable just makes it a lot more prettier, in my opinion. And so here you can see the conversion funnel. So this is also how we're able to visualize clear KPIs and metrics. So we had 41 messages coming in, and as the bot continues to run, you can see here it's only been about 4 days. So as it continues to run, this will grow larger, and then this will grow larger. So out of the 41, we've responded to 31, 9 of them have received links, 4 have purchased, etc. So putting it all together, the way the flow works is you capture and qualify the lead, you deliver one clear offer, and you personalize the flow, tone, and psychology, and you measure against your KPIs. So if you are wanting to understand how can we turn more of these inbounds into actual purchases, what you can begin to do is to look at your actual log, which is something I'm going to be putting into this dashboard here, and basically understanding, okay, what was it about the conversions that actually went through? What was it about those conversations that allowed someone to actually follow all the way through the funnel, right? And from there, once we collect more data on the actual purchases, we can reverse engineer those conversations and start over again, essentially with a new flow to get more of these responses to turn into purchases. And then also, this part here is really important because once we actually send the link, that's a success metric in itself, but we'll need to make sure that our follow-up is strong enough in order to convert them into purchases, because as you know, a lot of the times people are hesitant. A lot of the times people are unsure of how this is going to help them. So maybe that's something that we have to build into the prompting. And that is now where I'm going to get into some of the core elements of a strong Instagram DM bot prompt. Remember, in one of my first videos, I talked about the importance of prompt engineering and the importance of understanding the language of the model that you're using to get better outputs. So first thing you want to do is identify identity and voice. So you want to define who is speaking. Is it a postpartum fitness coach? Is it a wellness coach? Is it a nutrition coach? Who is actually speaking? We want to provide clear tone guidance for the bot. So if you want to be friendly, supportive, or if you want to be assertive and direct, like you want to identify what that tone is so that it's not robotic. And next we want conversation goals. So what is the goal of the bot? What is it ultimately driving towards? Is it a course link? Is it booking a call? Is it joining a wait list? Is it a webinar? Get very clear on what the conversation needs to be about. And then you also want to make sure that the user feels seen and gently qualify them without interrogating them. So it's going to follow a very natural flow. And when I share this and you begin to work on your bot, you want to utilize these questions. You can use your ChatGPT bestie, which is also linked down below, to utilize this framework and basically say, hey, I want to fill this out, but here are my criteria. And then it will go through and basically tell you what the identity and voice should be, what the conversation goals should be, what the engagement rules are, etc. So moving into engagement rules, these are triggers for the bot to begin interacting. So one thing I learned while building out this for my client is that in the beginning, the bot was just responding to everything and anything. Then I had to get real specific about what needs to come inbound in order for the bot to turn on, to be triggered, to say, okay, let me step in and do my job. And these could be words like fitness, abs, recovery, etc. So if you're someone who's running an advertisement and you're basically like, hey, DM me healing or DM me workouts for your own personal guide or just to get started, then you're going to have an influx of DMs that say just workouts. And so that's when your bot knows to begin to engage with that lead and understand what they're really here for. Some safe openers, sometimes people will just say hi, or I'm ready, or I need help. And with that, you can also have the bot triggered to go ahead and start conversation, but something gently like, hey, what's up, bro? Are you looking for some calisthenics, or are you looking for like a meal plan? Like, what can I help you with? Like, you can have that built into the bot based on these engagement rules. This next one is super important. Automatic handoffs, because you're dealing with conversational AI. You want to know when someone on your team needs to step in. And so I've built some parameters within our logic to make sure that if anything's off topic, if we only receive media or attachments, meaning like a voice memo or a video, or someone reposted us, or whatever the case is, or medical logistics. So depending on what type of coach you are, what type of client you have, anything medical in nature, the bot will do its best to respond. But I would say that this is probably when you would want someone on your team to step in and take over the conversation from there. And next, we have context rules. So if no conversation history is stored in that simple memory, and a message comes in and it seems quite off topic, then I have it set to where basically we don't engage. Just for the beginning stages. Over time, I think I'll have more data in order to modify that rule there. So those are engagement rules. Then we have flow. This is where you have to determine what the best script is for your offer. So one generic example that I have here is just a warm welcome. Someone sends a DM and says workout. You welcome them, you ask them a question like, hey bro, are you here for calisthenics or are you here for a nutrition plan? Because that is what your offer is, right? Next is, once they say, oh, I'm here to get like better workout plans. Okay. Clarify the impact. Like, why is this important for them right now? That's a follow-up question. And then they'll tell you. And then you transition into your solution. So normalize the struggle and present your framework. How do you help? How can you help this individual with your offer or with your coaching or with whatever it is that you are working on selling through the DMs? And then lastly, always route to offer. So once you've identified their struggle, once you've identified your framework and how you can help them, after they respond is when you introduce, your offer. Like, hey man, I think this ebook that I have here is going to be a great first step for you to understand how you can begin creating more time throughout your day for your workouts. And then from there, you can book a call with us and we can get you in touch with someone from our team so that we can start building personalized plans for you. Period. Okay? And then after you send the link and the code, I have it to where my bot stops the conversation and is flagged within Slack for a follow-up. So that's when someone from my team will step in and follow up with this individual to make sure that they've, one, made the purchase, and two, if they've had any questions, and or if they need some additional context or additional clarity in order to close the sale. Okay. So next we have stop handoffs. These are really important, like I mentioned, because you don't want the bot to just respond to any and everything. It will, unless you have these in place. So if someone is clearly indicating that they want to speak with a human or someone on your team, the bot will stop and flag and send a Slack message or whatever messaging system that you use. It could send you a text message. It could send you a WhatsApp, whatever the case is. Or if something's off topic, again, you want to make sure that the bot isn't interacting to your personal DMs or to anything that's unrelated to your offer or what it is that you do. Tone guidelines. I like to add this because I find that with just the original first part, if I just say, friendly and supportive, it may use the same phrase over and over again. So I have it to avoid repetition, but also provide validation. So like, that makes sense. I hear you. I totally get it. I feel you on that. Interchanging these creates more of a personal feel and is really important, because something a friend told me that I was struggling with a little bit myself in the beginning was, I really want to help this coach generate more leads and nurture more of her leads, because her clients really need the help, but she's just one person. And so there was this conversation around, the efficacy of utilizing a bot. I think it's super important to help her and her business and to help as many people that, of her clients that she's helping. But sometimes people are disheartened, or they prefer not to interfere with the bot. And I just feel as though this is where we're going. If you contact your major cell phone provider, or if you're trying to book an airline ticket, typically you're speaking with a bot first. And so I think the bot is really great to get that initial process flowing and to get people who are really serious about working with you into your ecosystem. And so my friend told me, he's like, okay, well, there's two things we can do here. We can either tell them they're interacting with a bot up front. So if that's something that you want to build into yours, that's totally doable. Or you make it so that it's as relatable and as personable as possible. So, and essentially undetectable. That's the reality of it, but that is essentially where we're heading. I do believe that eventually every single business will have a customer service bot or have some sort of internal bot that's able to interact with clients and customers in order to act as like that first point of contact. And then if escalation is needed, that's when the person steps in. Next, we have routing flags and automation logic. So you want to make sure you have that logic set up so that when the messages are sent through the webhooks, GoHighLevel is receiving the proper action and the proper tagging. So link follow-up, link sent, human needed, etc. All right, and then output format. So this is really important, especially if you're going through multiple platforms. You want to make sure that the output is in JSON so that GoHighLevel can receive whatever is coming from N8N and they're speaking the same language. I won't get too much into this part here, but all you have to do is check out the link below and I'll provide you with a generic Instagram DM automation JSON. Again, you'll just upload that into N8N and then fill out any of the personalized portions of it that will need to be filled out. So this are like API keys, credentials for Google Sheets, etc. You'll fill all of that out and so you'll have the skeleton there. So guys, that is my video on the truth about Instagram bots and how you can begin to build your own. What's next? This is where you want to choose one offer. So if you have a client or if you have an offer in mind or if you have your own following that you want to begin utilizing this with, identify that one offer that you want to start testing out in your DMs. Define your clear KPI goals. Is it conversions? Is it calls booked? Is it leads generated? Whatever that is. Define that goal because that's what you're going to be working towards and that's what you're going to use to draft a script around that feels like a conversation and not a pitch. So if you're just trying to generate leads and someone comes into your DMs and they send that magic word and you have a free ebook you want to offer them in exchange for their email, whatever that looks like, you want to get clear on that and use that to create a script based on these core elements that I've provided here. And then you want to build your flow using flexible tools. I say less is more. So if you're someone who only wants to utilize GoHighLevel and N8N and ChatGPT, you can stop there, or you can go beyond. You can integrate Lovable. You can integrate so many other tools, but you can quite literally do this with as little as possible. And then lastly, test, optimize, and refine. I can't tell you how many tests I've gone through with this bot. It mainly had to do with finding the perfect prompt to begin testing on. Lastly, I just want to say if you are able to answer all of these questions and identify your key elements, you can then input this into your chat bestie and ask it to create a prompt for you based on all of these guidelines, specifically to utilize in your Instagram chatbot. And essentially, when you do that, you want to test it and then you'll see what the output looks like and you'll want it to look something along these lines here. So that is all I had for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And if you know anyone who can benefit from utilizing this in their own business, be sure to share the video with them. Thanks, guys.